The United States recently captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and transferred control of Venezuela's oil to American companies. The White House is now applying that exact strategy to Iran. Yesterday, Communications Director Jared Agin stated the administration is considering a plan to seize Iran's oil reserves. Their primary target is Kharg Island. The facility handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. Destroying the island would double global gas prices. Occupying it allows the United States to sell the oil, stabilize the market, and defund the Iranian government entirely. 90% of Iran's oil exports depart from a single piece of land. Kharg Island is 5 miles long. It contains the T Jetty and Sea Island terminals. These are the only facilities in Iran capable of loading supertankers. The island processes up to 2 million barrels of crude oil per day. Following the February 28th airstrikes, the United States targeted the island's power substations. Military forces struck a 33-megawatt generation facility. Without this infrastructure, the terminal cannot pump crude oil into vessels. Extraction systems utilized residual capacity to continue loading operations. 5 tankers finalized their cargo and departed on March 2nd. Maritime traffic collapsed over the next 72 hours. By March 5th, the transport fleet dispersed. Only 4 tankers remained anchored at the terminal. Analysts confirm the terminal will lose all pumping capability within 13 days of the initial strikes. Destroying the oil terminals guarantees a global energy shortage. Eliminating Kharg Island removes 2 million barrels of crude oil from the daily market. This reduction directly doubles global gas prices. The White House requires a method to neutralize the facility without triggering an economic crisis. On March 7th, White House advisor Jared Agin confirmed the administration will physically occupy the reserves. The administration is applying the protocol used during the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The United States secured Venezuela's energy infrastructure and transferred operational oversight to American energy companies. The military will repeat this procedure on Kharg Island. American corporations will manage the extraction and export processes. The facilities will continue supplying international buyers under United States authority. The operation requires capturing the oil infrastructure entirely intact to stabilize global energy markets, while permanently denying revenue to the Iranian government. President Trump identified this specific target 38 years ago. During a 1988 interview with The Guardian, Donald Trump stated he would attack Kharg Island if Iran targeted Americans. The administration is now executing that exact plan. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel conducted coordinated airstrikes across Iran. These strikes killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. His death removed the primary decision-maker for the armed forces and halted the coordination of a unified national defense. The United States military is deploying forces to secure the oil infrastructure, while the Iranian command structure remains disrupted. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed the armed forces are prioritizing the control of defense industrial assets over nation-building campaigns. The military will not conduct a ground invasion of the Iranian mainland. Troops will deploy strictly to capture and hold the facilities on Kharg Island. The operation isolates the intervention to a 5-square-mile perimeter. The United States is utilizing the current absence of Iranian leadership to achieve a strategic objective planned nearly 4 decades ago. Occupying the island requires deploying specialized ground units within range of mainland artillery. Kharg Island sits 15 miles off the Iranian coast. The island measures 5 miles in length. Airborne units must insert directly into this hostile perimeter. Specialized engineers deploy alongside them to secure the industrial facilities. Iranian forces maintain firing positions along the mainland shore. These batteries possess the physical range to strike the island. American ground troops must hold the T-jetty and Sea Island terminals while neutralizing incoming fire. The military must intercept projectiles before they strike the storage tanks. These tanks hold up to 2 million barrels of highly combustible crude oil. American troops must prevent intentional sabotage. The terminal utilizes elevated gravity flow pipelines to move oil from the central plateau to the loading docks. Retreating Iranian engineers could detonate these pipelines or open the primary release valves. Sabotage would dump millions of barrels of crude into the Gulf. The contamination would halt all maritime traffic and render the loading docks unusable. The Department of Defense executed preemptive strikes to dismantle the mainland threat. American aircraft targeted radar installations, launch vehicles, and coastal command centers. These strikes reduced Iranian missile effectiveness by 90% during the early March operations. The mainland artillery is now fractured. The United States must continuously export the seized crude oil. This extraction requires a steady rotation of civilian supertankers. Commercial shipping companies refuse to operate in active combat zones without maritime insurance. On March 3rd, President Trump ordered the U.S. Navy to provide tanker escorts and federal risk insurance for Gulf trade. Guided missile destroyers now shield the transport vessels. These warships physically escort commercial supertankers through the Persian Gulf directly into the Kharg Island loading terminals. The United States military currently dictates the maritime traffic around Kharg Island and isolates the facility from mainland reinforcement. Occupying the island directly redirects 80% of Iran's exports currently flowing to China. The supertankers leaving the T-jetty and Sea Island terminals transport up to 2 million barrels of crude oil per day. China purchases 80% of these exports. Iran fulfills these orders using a fleet of unregistered commercial vessels. These ships disable their tracking transponders to evade international monitoring. They load crude at Kharg Island and deliver the cargo directly to Chinese refineries. China receives a continuous energy supply. Iran receives the capital required to operate its state apparatus. On February 6th, President Trump signed an executive order establishing strict tariffs on any nation acquiring Iranian goods. The policy leverages the American financial system to isolate Iranian exports through severe economic penalties. By occupying Kharg Island, the United States secures physical authority over the oil flow to Beijing. American forces take direct possession of the loading facilities. The United States military replaces Iranian export officials with American oversight personnel. The United States Navy physically blocks unregistered ships from approaching the Sea Island terminal. Every vessel loading crude must operate with active tracking systems and legitimate maritime insurance. The United States military commands the supply chain. The United States government acquires control over a major percentage of China's daily energy requirement. The administration dictates the volume, the price, and the destination of the crude oil. American officials can sever the supply line entirely or redirect the supertankers to allied nations. Inside Iran, the consequence is financial insolvency. Former Pentagon advisor Michael Rubin stated, "This action eliminates Tehran's ability to pay its military. The Iranian government relies on Kharg Island exports to fund its domestic security forces and international operations. Without this daily revenue, the state cannot issue salaries to its soldiers. The Defense Ministry cannot purchase munitions or acquire replacement parts for its mainland coastal artillery. The government loses all domestic purchasing power. Destroying the facility removes millions of barrels from the market and doubles global gas prices. Occupying the facility keeps the oil flowing under American supervision. The United States sells the seized crude to approved international buyers. The revenue enters American accounts. The continuous supply stabilizes the international market. The United States secures direct control over China's primary energy supply while entirely defunding the Iranian armed forces. The physical occupation of the island forces control over global markets.